Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm so glad you're here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Today is a very personal episode. I'm just going to share something that has been unfolding in my family, my personal world. And I want to say at the outset, this is strictly my personal experience. It is not a sermon. It's not a theological deep dive. It is nothing other than my personal experience and journey. And I just thought that I would share it with you all because it's just something that has really been a part of my world for the last couple of years. So I just wanted to let you all in on it. And I'll probably be sharing more because this is actually quite a journey. About 2 years ago, my husband Zane converted to Catholicism. And to give you a little bit of history, Zane and I both grew up cradle Protestants, as you would. We both grew up in the same denomination, Church of Christ. It is just very Bible-based, fundamental, just very biblical Protestant church. And that's actually what brought us together. Our whole relationship started based on connections we had in the Church of Christ, based on our mutual love for and membership in the Church of Christ. And his father, for his entire life, and still is a Church of Christ minister. All of the men in his family are either in that ministry or in that faith family. And that's what I grew up in. And up until probably our second decade of marriage, both of us, that's how we raised our children. That is how we worshiped every Sunday. It was really what bound us together. So rewind about 10 years ago, and I may be a little off on some of these numbers, but I'm just giving you general perspective. Actually, rewind 20 years ago, we both moved from the Church of Christ to an evangelical, non-denominational church, which I'm still a member of, and which he still leads a small group with members from this church. Actually, there are members from other churches in our small group, but we're very still, with his post-conversion, we're still very involved in this church. We still give, tithe. He's tithing also at his church, but we're still very connected there, especially me, but he is as well. But we had left the Church of Christ to join that particular church, and probably just 5 years ago, he started doing a lot of reading. Zane did. He started reading theology books, history books, a lot of C.S. Lewis, a lot of the church fathers. And I saw this. I saw him every morning, his first fruits at night, just diving deep. And I mean deep diving, reading all the time, listening to podcasts and so forth. Now, I am not that deep. I mean, I don't consider myself shallow, but my life is kept going. I go to my church. I love my church. I believe what I believe. I have the gift of evangelism. I'm always trying to invite people to church, make people feel welcome at church. If you looked up Protestant, my face would be right there. I know how to do it. That's what I have always been. I don't know anything else. I'm comfortable there and I love it. But enter a husband who, after, I would say, at least 5 or 6 years, that study and that reading and all of the researching that he was doing, it led him to conversion. Now, he did not just convert and then pop up one day and say, "Hey, I've converted." All along the way, he shared his thoughts, his questions, his concerns with me, with his close family, his extended family. And there were long conversations with them, lots of back and forth with Bible verses, with, what about this? What about that? And it was not something that was done lightly. But suffice it to say, he converted 2 Easters ago. So, and actually, I'm going to throw in another thing. My firstborn daughter, Ellie, who has been on this podcast numerous times, She and her husband both converted to Catholicism, and they're about to have my first grandchild. So I will have a grandchild or more. So I have now a very blended family as far as faith goes. So I will just say, without going into a lot of detail, being in the empty nest of our life has been the biggest blessing, because if this had happened when we were raising children together, this would have been probably very tumultuous. But we're empty nest. Our children are grown. Two of them are married. One of them is living in California. And although everything we do affects them in some way, they're adults. They make their choices. So therefore, he and I, Zane and I, can work through any way that this affects our marriage without worrying that we're affecting our children adversely. So let me just share how my initially I was fine that he was studying, and then he started going and visiting a lot of the parishes. Well, I kept going. I'm an 8 o'clock at church in my same seat, and I kept doing that, and he started visiting. Well, then after a while, I would go with him every now and then, but then once he converted, same thing. Every Sunday morning at 8, I was at my church. He was at his parish. I will have to say that God put so many things in place that made this, for lack of a better word, easier or non-threatening. And I'm going to tell you what those things are, because I do know there are people listening or watching. I know there have to be those of you out there who you're on a similar trajectory, and it's causing strife, tumult, anger, division. And I'm just going to share how God has paved the way for me. And I want anyone listening who might be one of these pillars that I'm going to mention, that you might be able to be a pillar like I'm about to describe to someone else, whether you're at a Protestant church where someone is visiting and they're in an unfamiliar place, or you are at a Catholic church where there is a visitor who has no clue what's going on. Be this to them. Well, first of all, I had one of my very favorite people on the planet, an old dear friend, Marie Marino. We were sorority sisters. We are the best of friends. We get together as much as we can. Love, love, love her. Well, she and her husband, EJ, one of our best couple friends, they're both Catholic. Well, that has never fazed us. It has never come up in conversation until now. Zane's Catholic, so I started asking questions just casually, and never, and when I say never, I mean never, did any of their answers make me feel belittled, uneducated, less of a Christian. Everything was just real chill. Yeah, well, we believe this because of that, but it was never a thing. It was never this brain surgery or this, we've got to, look at us when we say this. That would have turned me away. So, first of all, having a friend and her husband who were deep, 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 longtime Catholics who would answer and converse when I asked, never once, ever, did they say, "Hey, what do you think about Zane's conversion?" Or, "Hey, are you thinking about becoming Catholic? Hey, do you want to come to church with us?" Never. As an Enneagram 8 and just my personality in general, those kind of things make me go the opposite. So that was a good thing. Secondly, a precious friend that I had known years earlier, Casey Maddox, she is one of those people who like 90% of her friends are Protestant. She knows all the years when her kids were in school. She was in Protestant Bible studies. We were all in the same circles. And then she converted later. She was someone that had reached out to several times just to learn more. And again, she never pushed, was never threatening. It was just easy. It was like talking with a friend. So whenever I needed to talk with someone or ask a question, I would text her. We would go to lunch, and it was just so easy and life-giving. So that those two friends were wonderful to have, and they helped make the way easier because I'm going to say my personality, I am going to go to someone other than my husband, my son-in-law, my daughter. I tend to like to work all these things out outside of the family because I don't want to look like I'm just doing this because my family did or I'm just rolling in line. So, having two close friends was fabulous. Now, this is the surprise, and I don't think this is common for someone maybe who's dipping their toe in either attending and just trying to get to know people or just attending to learn more. But I became fast friends with the priest at Zane's parish. And when I say he and I are such close friends, I invited him to Mother's Day. He came. He went to Memorial Day with us this weekend. We adore him. My whole family adores him. And I want to tell you why he was such a gift to making this process smoother. He's young. He's like early 40s. And he was a lifelong Protestant, just like I was, and just like Zane was. I cannot tell you how much that helped me, at least. May not matter to everyone, but for me to give someone my full, hey, talk to me. I want to hear from you. I want your opinion. That is important because they know exactly how I think spiritually. So, Father Ward, we have been with him so many times. He's a friend first to me. He's Zane's priest, but that has meant so much because now someone who is very instrumental in that church is someone that I can ask questions. And again, I have asked him so many questions, and some probably could have been taken by some people in the Catholic Church as maybe confrontational. Never once was any response from Father Ward anything other than kind. Just very, yes, I know because I used to believe that. Let me tell you why I see it this way now. Just treating me like an adult who had different beliefs and was hearing from someone as to their journey. So there was never this feeling of being attacked, judged, never in this process, ever. So those were gifts, blessings that have helped this journey be easier. Because I will say, on 8 o'clock services, I'm by myself. Now, it doesn't really bother me. I'm very independent. I'll go eat by myself. I will do all of that. But it was always more fun when my husband was there. But now that I know friends, the priest, I've been to the parish many times, went to the New Year's Eve party there, met so many people. I feel like, hey, my husband is with our friends, people who are also my friends. So it is not this me against them. That would be very sad to me if it were a me against them, me against Father Ward, me against the Catholic Church. It's not. And it's not Zane against or anti the Church of the Highlands or the Church of Christ or any Protestant church, for lack of a better word, although I'm protesting nothing, but Protestant is the term that people will understand just in light of this conversation. So, where are we now? I am still absolutely plugged in and involved at my church. We still lead small group. We will continue to lead small group. All of our friends know, I believe all of our friends know that Zane is Catholic. It has not fractured one friendship. And I will just say I applaud my husband because I know that there are probably people on both sides, Protestant, Catholic, that they convert and then they feel like they have to start chopping off every relationship and the other faith and causing disunity, which looks like, hey, you just converted to this church or this denomination and now you're chopping off everything in your world. Now, chopping off sin or sinful behaviors, I understand that. But when you are disconnecting with people just because you are now a different faith makes zero sense to me. And I'm so grateful that my husband has kept all of those friendships, those relationships, our small group, fully intact. And I'm so grateful to him. So because I do want to learn, want to tell you just what I'm doing to learn what the Catholic faith believes. If I never ever convert to Catholicism, I still want to know because, wow, now look, we have an American Pope. So I think many more people are intrigued and curious. Number two, I want to know what my husband, my daughter, son-in-law, grandchildren, I want to know what they believe. I want to know, hey, what was it that made you convert? But I don't want to hear it from them. I want to hear what the Catholic faith truly believes, and you will find that in the Catechism. So, what I have been doing, and I highly recommend if you have any desire to learn, I recommend not going to a friend or a person where there's any personal relationship. That's just me. But go to someone that you can listen to and learn from, but it's not personal. And I will say, Father Mike Schmidt, the Catechism in a Year, is probably the most easy to listen to, non-threatening, but educational podcast or teaching of the Catechism that exists. I can't imagine anything else. And he's known for all of his teachings, and he's just revered. And I believe his podcast, Catechism in a Year, was #1 for a while. But anyway, I have been doing that for a while. So now I understand a lot of things that I misunderstood, a lot of things I believed that were totally untrue. So as I learn more about what they really teach and really believe, that is helpful as well. And again, I have no idea. I pray and I ask God, God, show me the truth. Show me where I need to be. I pray that. But I still am on this journey. And I will go to Mass with Zane, and it's beautiful. I love it. But then I'm not going to stop going to my church. Even if I ever converted, I will still worship with my Protestant people. I don't know exactly if it would be every Sunday. I would, of course, if I were Catholic, I would go to Mass every Sunday, but I'm not about cutting off. I'm not about going towards something that's going to pull me away from people that I love and people that I do life with, and the faith that brought me to where I am today. So whatever that looks like, I know it can be complicated, but that is where I am. So that is just what's been happening. I am this summer going to be going to OCIA classes at Zane's Parish. Love the teacher there. He's a Sanford professor, actually. Just learning, because I don't think we're ever too old to learn. And I don't think there's anything to be afraid of for learning. Why should I be afraid? Why should anyone be afraid to learn about a faith, whether it's one they never end up practicing, but just learning and growing and understanding? So that's where I am. And I do hope that this has been helpful or inspiring, or I don't know, entertaining. Just because I know it is a little bit different. Not everyone will encounter this in their life, but I just thought, hey, I love my podcast people, love my YouTube people, so I'm just going to put it out there, and I hope I have just somehow let you have a little peek into my world. And I will say, I'll be popping on to share more, and I'm actually going to bring Zane on. I just told him, I said, Zane, I'm just going to share a little bit from my perspective. And he said, oh, great. He said, I'll pop on anytime. So anyway, I so appreciate y'all giving me this time. And as always, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And until next time, be blessed and stay savvy.